Hello everybody, welcome to the workshop. Thank you for joining. My name's Lottie. I'm one of the speech and language therapists working in Ealing, and we're going to be talking about today how you can use stories to support children's talking. So let's go to the slides. So just to help us warm up and get us thinking about storytelling, I'm first going to point you towards this video of Michael Rosen telling the story of We're Going on a Bear Hunt. If you scroll down to the description box under this video, you'll find the link. So go and have a watch of that and then come back. So hope you enjoyed that video. I'd love for you to just have a think about what makes Michael Rosen such a great storyteller. How do they make their stories memorable? Why don't you pause the video and have a think? You could also think of someone you know who's a really good storyteller as well. So some of the things that you might have come up with might have been using lots and lots of facial expression, being really animated, or using lots of gestures to act things out. Maybe you might have thought about how people might use props, like objects or pictures, to bring the story to life. Maybe you might think about how Michael Rosen in particular uses the tone of his voice to make things more exciting and engaging. People also might build anticipation, like when the bear's chasing them. Or maybe there are certain things that are repeated. So, for example, in the We're Going on a Bear Hunt story, the same phrases are repeated again and again. We're going on a bear hunt. We're going to catch a big one. And this helps people to join in because they can anticipate what's coming. People also might use humour or comedy to engage people. There might be elements of surprise, so unexpected things that happen. People also might use lots of new and exciting fun words. And then I guess it's just the joy of that shared experience that can help capture people's attention. So all of these things and more are the things we want to give children when we're telling stories with them. So what's our plan for today? We're going to start by thinking about how stories support communication. Then we'll share some tips about how you can use stories to support children at different ages. We'll think about how to choose stories. And then lastly, what to do if you don't have any storybooks available. So firstly, how stories support communication. So studies have found that books include words that children don't usually hear in daily life. So they expose children to more words and sentence structures that they wouldn't hear in conversations. Books include more rare words, use longer words, and the words they use are often more complex as well. So children might miss out on hearing these words and expanding their vocabularies if there aren't many opportunities for shared reading. We're going to do another activity now. So one particular researcher put together a list of the top 500 words that are most commonly found in children's books, and then the 500 words that are least representative, so that are more often found in conversations. So let's see if we can sort them. So there's lots of words there. Maybe if you have a bit of paper next to you, you could have two columns. Words most likely to be found in children's books, and then words more often found in conversations. And see if you can divide them up. Feel free to pause the video while you do that. Okay, so let's have a look at these. So, words most likely to be found in children's books. Words like stare, whisper, dream, giant, mutter, enormous. Quite exciting, complex words. Compared to the words more found in conversations, like yeah, careful, car, yes, oops, nursery, much more kind of everyday words. So we can see that the words more often found in children's books are more unique, more complex, and more meaningful, as opposed to the kind of lighter, less specific, more vague words that we see in conversations. So books and storytelling encourages abstract thinking, because when we're reading stories, we're using our imaginations to think about things that aren't in the here and now. So, how can we use stories? You're probably already doing lots of things, maybe without even knowing it, that is helping your child with their talking and their understanding. So I'd love for you just to take a minute now, pause the video, and think about, what do you already do to help your child with their talking and understanding? So you might have thought about things like talking to them, maybe describing what you're doing in the routine, maybe spending lots of times playing with them. Maybe you're reading books already, or maybe you label things when you're out and about in the community. Hopefully, by the end of today, we'll have added storytelling to your talking toolkit. So you've got lots of things to go and try at home or in your setting. Let's first think about how we can use stories with really little ones, from 0 to 18 months. Some of the key things here is to follow their interests. So when you show your baby a book, notice what they're looking at, what they're touching or pointing to, and focus on that. You don't need to stick to the words of the story. Even better is just to notice what your child is interested in and talk about that with them. Leave pauses for your baby to respond, and look really carefully at them to notice any sign of their communicating, maybe through their movements, through their sounds, or through their facial expressions. Because children aged 0 to 18 months are usually just experimenting with sounds or learning their first words or signs, we want to keep our language really short and simple. So one word at a time is often a good place to start. And it's good to focus on those action words like running, eating, or dancing, because these are the most important types of words in language. You can bring the story to life and help engage your little one by using lots of gestures, using your whole body to show your child what you're talking about. And you can also make sound effects, and maybe your baby might start to try copy you. The most important thing here is to focus on and respond to your baby. So don't be afraid to move away from the words and just focus on responding to them and what they're interested in. So if we're looking at the book Chuffa Chuffa Choo Choo, here are some ideas of what you might say when you're looking at this book with a little one. You could experiment with the sound effects. Choo choo. You could comment using single words. Floating, sailing, driving. And we've put the link there to the Makaton sign for train. And that link is also in the description box under the video. So let's imagine if you're looking at this picture or this book with your baby, I wonder what you might talk to them about this picture. What could you describe? Firstly, I might want to notice what my baby is interested in. What are they looking at? Maybe they're looking at the fire, Or maybe they're looking at the witch's hats, or maybe at the magic wand. And then I might want to comment in single words about that, like fire, or oh, it's hot, or oh, hats, or oh, the cat. Cat is sitting. Now we're going to watch a video from one of our Storytime and Rhyme online videos that's on our Facebook page. So we'll watch this video and then we'll think about, what did Kerry, the therapist, do to bring the story to life?
Chuffer, chuffer. Here comes the train. Clickety-clack, clickety-clack, clickety-clack. On the track. Going to the seaside. We can taste the ice cream. Yum.
Okay, so I hope you enjoyed watching that little clip. Just have a think, what did she do to bring the story to life? Maybe you noticed her using lots of expressions and gestures. Maybe you noticed her using the little horn to make the noise of the train. Maybe you noticed her leaving lots of pauses, so then the child can respond and share what they're interested in. So how can we use stories with children who are aged 2 to 3? So we want to continue using all the tips we're using for babies, but add some more, okay? So what we want to do for children aged 2 to 3 is to really use our voices and our gestures to stress the important words, which is often the verb. So you could say, he jumped up, he jumped up. So I'm highlighting that word with my voice and with my body. Rhyming stories are really good because rhyming stories help build children's awareness of sounds, and it helps their speech sounds too. And it also means that children might start to be able to guess what's coming up, especially if they know the story really well. You could also add a word to what they're saying to show them how to make a longer sentence. So, for example, if they say bear, you could say, oh, big bear. So you're adding that word big. You could also spot new words and explain these new words using gestures or props or acting. This helps to bring it to life, and it also helps them because they can see what we mean. And lastly, we want to keep the story nice and short. You know, children aged 2 to 3, their attention skills are still developing. So it's okay to keep the story really short. And when they lose interest, we can move on and go follow what they're interested in. So here's an example from the book Brown Bear, Brown Bear. So maybe you could comment on what he's doing. He's walking, walking. You could leave a pause to see if they can predict what's coming next. I see a brown bear looking at me. You could add a word. If they say brown bear walking, you could say, yes, the big brown bear is walking. And you could also help them use some gestures too, because that helps them learn new words. For example, you could say, oh, he's seeing us. Everyone, you can show me see. Oh, yeah, he's seeing us. He's seeing us. So now let's think about a page from the Hand of Surprise. So here she's talking about tangerines, but maybe your child has never heard the word tangerine before and doesn't know what it is. I wonder what gestures or props or acting or drawing you could use to help your child learn this new word. Feel free to pause the video and have a think. Okay, so how can we help them learn the word tangerine? Well, if I have a bit of paper and a pen, maybe I'll draw tangerine. If I have an orange pen, if I have an orange in my house, I might just go and show that to them and say tangerine. Or maybe I'll try and act it out. So maybe I'd show them what shape it is, tangerine. Let's watch a clip from George's video and think about what she uses to help engage the children in her story.
Brown bear, brown bear, what do you see? I see a red bird looking at me. Red bird, what do you see? I see a blue horse. A blue horse looking at me.
So I wonder what you noticed Georgia use. I wonder if you noticed her using any repetitive phrases, using facial expression or gestures, leaving pauses or using objects to explain new words. Now let's think about how we can use stories for children aged 3 to 4. And when children are aged 3 to 4, this is sometimes when they start to become aware of other people's feelings. So we want to continue using all the strategies we've talked about for babies and toddlers, plus these new ones. So often at 3 to 4, this is maybe when we might start reading some longer stories. And we can help children understand those stories by encouraging them to act it out. You can give them little props like masks or things around your home. And this helps them to really experience the story for themselves. Often at age 3 and 4 is also when children are starting to talk about feelings or become aware of people's feelings. And you can help this by talking about how the characters are feeling in the stories. So, for example, Anna looks happy. She's smiling. Oh, look at her big smile. She's so happy. I wonder what you might say about this picture. How would you describe Anna's emotions and what she's feeling here? I might say, oh, she's feeling sad. She's crying. She's trying to get away. Oh, Anna's feeling sad. We're using some Makaton signs for the emotions words, and I'll put the link to some in the description box under this video. Okay, so now we're going to think about how we could use stories for children aged 4 years and all the way up. At this age, children are learning lots and lots of new words. So one thing that helps is to be a word detective and encourage them to spot new words they don't understand. And here's something called a word hand, which is what you can use to help children learn new words. So first, we might listen to what the word sounds like. You might think about how many syllables it has, anything it rhymes with, what's the first sound and the last sound. Then you could think. So think, what does it mean? Where do you find it? What do you do with it? Or what does it look like? Then you could say, so say a sentence with the new word. You could draw a picture of the new word. And then lastly, make up an action to help your child remember it. If you want to see a video that describes in more how to do a word hand, there's one in the link underneath this one. When children are 4 years old and above, this is sometimes when they're starting to understand how and why questions. So we can help them understand that by asking them and then giving them the answer. So, how is she feeling? Oh, she's feeling scared because of the spider. Why did he do that? He shouted because he didn't know that she was hiding. Or what do you think will happen next? I think they will go and buy some new glasses. So you can just ask and then answer the question out loud, because it will help your child to hear your thought processes. Here are some other strategies. You could encourage your child to retell the story and help them put the events in the right order. You could help them do this by asking questions like, what happened first? What happened next? And what happened last? Again, you could also have fun acting out or drawing out the story, maybe in a little comic strip like in the picture, to help the children understand it. So that's the end of our tips. Now let's think about how to choose stories. There are lots of stories out there, aren't there? Let's think about how we can choose them. The first thing is that if you speak another language at home, use stories in your home language. It's really good for your child to hear you speaking the language you're most confident and most comfortable in. And using stories in your home language will give your child opportunity to learn lots of different words. Stories that are rhythmic and repetitive help children join in because they can learn it and predict what's coming next. If in doubt, it's really good to keep it simple. Short, simple stories that you read again and again will really help your child develop their talking. And lastly, follow your children's interests, no matter what this might be. Non-fiction books, like books about animals or trains or jobs or how things work, are really good for exposing children to new words and ideas. So follow your child's interest in these, and then they'll probably want to look at books with you for longer. Most importantly, avoid books with too much complicated language or lots of words but no pictures, because pictures are really important in helping children learn those words. So you might be thinking, what if I don't have many storybooks at home? You don't need a storybook to tell a story. We've all got stories. We all tell stories all the time about things that have happened to us. And you can just use your enthusiasm and anything you have in your house to help you tell the story. So here are some tips about making up your own stories. And in fact, this is a really good place to start because stories about things your child has experienced are easier to understand than fictional stories. So you can make up your own story. First, think about an experience your child has enjoyed, like a trip to a relative's house, or a trip to a park, or to soft play. You could collect things to help your child remember the story. Maybe the train ticket they had, maybe a leaf they picked up in the park, or maybe photos of people they met or saw along the way. And then get your child involved so they could help you choose pictures or objects and stick them into a little book. Then let your child give you the words. So allow them to tell you what they remember from the trip and write it underneath the picture or objects. This means the story is really meaningful to them and it makes sure that they understand it. And it doesn't even really need to be a book. It could just be a collection of objects, maybe in a shoebox, that prompt them about a particular experience. And then when you're finished, you could look through the story or look through the collection of objects and pictures. And they could even take it and show it to friends or relatives. Here's an example of a personal story. So this is a story about a trip I went on recently. So I might say, first, I went on a train. It was really noisy. We went on a train for a long time into the countryside. We went for a walk, and I saw some people standing on a board on the river. It was really sunny and hot. I saw some baby ducklings. They were really sweet. Then I got back on the train and I went home. So you can see how easy it is to tell a story, and you could have objects or even photos on your phone that you and your child could talk about. So here are some ideas of more places to go for storytelling tips. Firstly, they're linked to the Ealing libraries. There's some online resources. So Singing Hands are an amazing signing duo, and they have lots of signed stories on their YouTube channel. Then there's Bookstart, which is a charity who give out books to children under 5. And then lastly, the link to our Facebook page, which has our Storytime and Rhyme online videos. So another activity. I'd love for you just to choose one of your favourite stories and think about how you could use that story to bring it to life to support your child's talking. Feel free to pause the video and have a think. If you have any questions, please do feel free to get in touch with us. Our contact details are in the box underneath this video. And lastly, here are some references. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you found that useful. And yeah, good luck using stories or personal stories to support your child's talking at home. Bye-bye.